What's going on YouTube? Cloverbills here, back with another Series 13 team building video, and today we're finally going to be taking a look at Marshadow. So again, with this video, that means the World Championships are over, and again, shoutouts to Edu for the victory there. And again, if you don't know already, I said this on my Discord, and I also said this on Twitter, but I was on vacation. I was on vacation for about 8 days in Spain, and that means, you know, all the previous 7 videos that you saw on the channel have been pre-recorded. I did that before my flight, and now we're back. And now I promised that we would do Marshadow when I returned, and here we are. We are looking at Marshadow today. So now that Series 12 is pretty much all said and done, we still have a few more videos left, but now I really want to start pushing out the Series 13 team building content, as well as, you know, the battle videos. We've put out a few Series 13 teams already, and they've been very, very good actually. But now we're gonna look at another one in Marshadow. So when I think of Series 13, I think of a few things, right? I think of, like, you know, Zacian plus 3 homies, right? Where, you know, you have Zacian, Kyogre, Yveltal, Calyrex, and then you have like 2 support mons attached to it. Or if you're going the Trick Room route, then maybe swap out one of those and then have a Magearna in there, right? And that's really what I've been seeing in Series 13 as of this moment. So that being said, how are we going to build around Marshadow? So you have to ask yourself a few questions. How are you going to answer the Sun stuff? How are you going to have an answer for Zacian, Kyogre stuff? Do you have something for Yveltal? And then what about Trick Room? Okay, those are my criteria when I'm taking a look at Series 13. So that being said, you have to also ask yourself, well, what does Marshadow do for my team, right? Like, what can Marshadow do that I can't find elsewhere? And then how do I utilize it and make it even better while still covering some of the weaknesses and what's evident in the meta, right? So Marshadow, fighting ghost type, pretty good in terms of typing. It's got this really cool ability called Technician, which means any moves that are 60 base power or less, they get a stat bonus of 1.5, right? So the thing that Marshadow gets is something called Spectral Thief, right? So even though this isn't boosted by Technician, the fact that you can steal boosts before dealing damage is really good. And that's exceptionally good in a Dynamax format where things are just clicking Airstream, Steel Spikes, Max Quakes, Max Knuckles left and right. And then Marshadow says, thank you for the boost, and then it gets to attack, right? But the problem with that is, you know, you got to make sure you have the speed on your side. And while base speed 125 is very, very good, you're still short of the Calyrex Shadow Riders, and you're still short of stuff like Zacian, right? So that being said, you know, we need something else to help support Marshadow in that regard. And, you know, like I said, it's weak to Shadow Rider, so I think something like an Yveltal just makes sense on a team like this. So with the Yveltal, you always have something to pin the Shadow Rider, right? And especially with the Assault Vest, which is what we're going to run on this Yveltal set, it's very good at taking attacks from Kyogre, taking attacks from other special attackers, you know, and then just like, you know, being bulky and supporting this kind of squad is very good with what you're trying to do with Yveltal. And that's really why I have Yveltal in the S tier. I think in this format, Yveltal is the best restricted, right? Because you can use it in so many different ways, and it helps the team in every single way possible. Like whether it's speed control, whether it's like supporting and chipping away the opponent and weakening it, it can do both of those things, and that's why it's like so good. And you know, you get access to Airstream here. You can always Dynamax it, go for max darkness plays, drop special defenses, and then have your special attacker benefit off of that, right? So obviously we're gonna have some special attackers on this team, but yeah, I really think these two have to go straight up together, you know, in terms of pairing. And then from here, I think adding Zacian just makes more sense too. Like we already know, like, Zacian, Yveltal, this duo is also very, very good. It's already been proven in Series 12 that it's a very strong combination. It's won some tournaments, and now we'll bring it again here on this kind of squad. And with the Zacian, you know, you just have the best restricted in the format. You put on a lot of pressure with Behemoth Blade, and in some situations you can even like Dynamax the Marshadow and then go for those Phantasm defense drops, and then Zacian, you can just come in the back and then just beat things up with Behemoth Blade after -1 defenses, right? Now, I don't know if you're going to be maxing Marshadow very often, but there are cases where you can do it, and then Zacian can benefit, right? And then what's another good combination is the Kyogre here, right? So Zacian Ogre, Zacian Yveltal, these are all very good combinations. And then the 3 of them together are very, very strong. And then now you're starting to like put pressure on Groudon teams, right? Because you can change the weather on Groudon and Charizard. You can take it away with the Drizzle, and then just put pressure with the Water Spout stuff, right? And then you also have a good Dynamax option with the Ogre because like Max Geyser just does so much damage. But now we need like a little bit more speed control, and I think again this is one of those teams where Whimsicott very much enjoys, or I should say the other mons very much enjoy Whimsicott on this team because of Tailwind's support, right? Because you know a lot of teams, they're foregoing a lot of the speed control stuff just by slapping on another mythical or another restricted, and I think that's a mistake. I think you still need support options, and I think Whimsicott makes sense here. You make Kyogre really fast in the end game, you just click Water Spout, the game is over. Same thing with Zacian, same thing with Marshadow. Now you can outspeed the Shadow Rider and go for a little bit more bulk if you choose to do that. We won't do it here, but again, you have that option if you want to, right? And then now what you can also do is go for Helping Hand plays, and then Ogre, Zacian, Yveltal, and even Marshadow starts hitting like a truck. And then from here, I still think, you know, like what do we do against like opposing Kyogres? Like Yveltal does really well, but it's going to need a little bit more help. And then what do we have like for other flying types? I think Regieleki just makes a lot of sense here. And this will be an aggressive Regieleki with the Life Orb item, which you'll see in a second. But, you know, just chipping things down with Electro Web, and then, you know, just being a huge Dynamax threat is just really strong. And then, you know, you can come in the back with either Kyogre, Zacian, or Yveltal, and then just finish things off, right? I don't even know if Marshadow can even come to many games, and I think it can to some games, all right, but not a whole lot. And let me just make this a little bit bigger. I think that that'll just make things a little bit more clear. Yeah, so again, the whole idea is like we got speed control options with the Whimsicott, with Regieleki, we have Airstreamers with an Yveltal, and then, you know, the way we handle Trick Room, you'll see it in a second, what we'll add to Zacian that can help us do that a little bit. But you can see that this is a very aggressive, hyper-offensive team, and I think when you're using Marshadow, I think that's the way to go about it. But yeah, this is the 6 that I like. You put on so much damage every turn with, you know, the things that you can do, and then Yveltal is like a really good support option in the back end, right, with the Assault Vest. So this is the team, so let's go ahead and reveal the GIFs. So you got Marshadow, then you got Zacian, Ogre, then Yveltal, Whimsicott, and Regieleki for your Dynamax options, right? And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to build this 2 different ways. So it's going to be 2 different teams, but the same 6, because I think you can run a couple different ideas depending on what you, the viewer, like to do. And again, the whole purpose of this video is, you know, not to make the be-all end-all perfect Marshadow team, but at least give you some ideas to think about and give you a starting point. So this way you can, in the long run, you know, try this out and then maybe even make your own Marshadow team using the ideas that you got from my video. All right, so let's look at one version where I think could be really interesting, and then we'll do a second version that's just a little bit more standard, right? So let's take a look. All right, so we'll take a look at Marshadow first, and again, we always like to do the moves and the items first, and then we do the EVs after that, because often the moves and the items will influence the EV spread. So I think Spectral Thief is really good. I think Shadow Sneak comes next. Again, this is your ghost stat that can benefit off of Technician, and if you were to do the math with Shadow Sneak in terms of Technician and Stab, you know, base 40 power, you know, with 1.5 stab boost, it's 60, but then you get influenced by Technician, another 1.5, and it comes out to 90. So really nice. Priority 90 base move is really good. And then from here, I think Close Combat makes a lot of sense. Fighting Stab, you know, really good. You know, stuff against like Kyurem, maybe even something that the other opposing steel types like a Melmetal doesn't want to take a close combat, you know, stuff like that. I think is really good. And then over here, you can run Protect. I think that's pretty good here, but I've also seen something like Endeavor. I think Endeavor is really nice, where you can just chip things to 1 HP, and then, you know, on the opposing turn, you know, you can even go for like Shadow Sneak or Sucker Punch from your Yveltal and just clean things up, right? And this will be a Focus Sash Marshadow from here, right? And then we'll get to the EVs, the EVs in a second, but let's just go through each mon with their items and their movesets, right? So this is our Assault Vest Yveltal. So O-Wings is, of course, you know, important for longevity. You chip things down while at the same time getting recovery on your side. So that's really good. Snarl might be its best move in terms of what we want it to do on this kind of team. So we slow things down with, you know, special attack reduction. We slow down those Kyogres. We slow down those Palkias, those Dialgas, those, you know, even Regieleki to a degree if we can get speed control on it. So Snarl is really good in terms of like neutering those big special attackers that you can find in the format. Sucker Punch, really good here. Again, just pinning opposing slots with that dark move pressure is really good. And then finally Foul Play. Good against weakness policy stuff like the Calyrex stuff. Can do good chip damage into something like a Zacian or something like a Groudon. Really, really good in terms of what we wanted to do. And physical max darkness is very strong in terms of like which max darkness do you want to pick. So, you know, foul play is just it's just a stab on, just something that's relatively consistent that makes sense on Yveltal here. So, from here, Zacian, Behemoth Blade, of course. Then you have the Sacred Sword, you know, good against Incineroar stuff. Now here you could run Play Rough, but I'm going to go with Substitute on our Zacian and then Protect. Zacian is really, really good in this kind of format, especially against Trick Room stuff. Like, if you're going against Trick Room, they obviously just want to, like, either redirect and set up their Trick Room, so that's like a passive turn. So why not take the opportunity to set up your Substitute on the turn that they set up Trick Room, and then what you can do is, you know, take one attack and protect next turn, and already you just stalled out 2 turns of Trick Room, right? So I think it's really, really good on this kind of set where we need something to help us make that Trick Room matchup a little bit easier. All right, Kyogre, this is going to be a Mystic Water set, and then it's going to be Water Spout, and then Origin Pulse. Okay, and then in the last slot build, oh, that's Ancient Power. I didn't even know it got Ancient Power, actually, but that's kind of cool. Protect. Now here, you know, in Series 12, I always put Ice Beam on this, you know, just for, like, opposing Landorses and stuff like that, you know, and even something to hit Gastrodons with, but, like, both of those have dropped off considerably in this format. I haven't seen I see maybe, like, 1 Landorus, you know, and then same thing with, like, Gastrodons. I haven't seen any. So, you know, this might be the time where maybe Thunder is just a little bit better on Kyogre this time around. And it'll help you against the opposing Kyogre as well. And then, you know, you have a little bit of synergy with the Regieleki. You know, if you Dynamax the Ogre, you know, click Max Lightning. Now Regieleki's, you know, moves do a little bit more damage. Or on the flip side, you can Dynamax this. And then now Kyogre's Thunder does a little bit more damage after Aleki sets the terrain, right? And really, really good also that, you know, in case of like Trick Room stuff, you can always max and click Max Lightning, and then Amoonguss or Venus, right? They can't really sleep you also in that situation. So some use for Thunder here. I when I was testing it, I put it as Ice Beam, so, you know, I just kept it at Ice Beam, so yeah, might as well. But feel free to change this to Thunder, and I may change this to Thunder later on, but like, again, this is just something, you know, to consider when you're using this kind of team. But we'll keep it at Ice Beam for now. It's still good against like other flying types, and even like Groudon to a degree makes sense a little bit, although you can just click these 2 moves. Wait, why is this Muddy Water? Hold on a second. I meant Water Spout. But yeah, so up to you. Anyway, from here, the Whimsicott. So I mentioned that this kind of team would like have some more interesting stuff. So like, I like Switch, believe it or not, I always hated this, but I think it just makes sense on this type of team with the Yveltal and Marshadow. So, Eject Button, okay, and Switcheroo, okay, and then from here, we have Moonblast. We gotta have at least 1 attacking move and then Protect. So, what I'm trying to do here is, like, you can do, because this is like, you know, if you're in best of 1 even, you can Switcheroo, and then you can always Sucker Punch, punish an early Dynamax, get it out of here. Or you can even do Switcheroo, and then you can click Shadow Sneak, and then punish a Dynamax that way, right? So, you know, there's some good synergy here with Switcheroo, Eject Button, Whimsicott, along with Marshadow and Yveltal. And I think it's something that you can try and use if you want, but if you don't like it, then you can just put like Helping Hand here. Or you can put like Trick Room, and just so they have something against Trick Room, and then on the flip side you can just have like Mental Herb, just so that you don't get taunted, right? And that's going to be on our other team where we do something a little bit more standard. But I just thought, you know, it just makes sense here, right? With the Switcheroo stuff, and then the Eject Button, again, something that I never really liked, but I think it just makes sense on this kind of team, right? Considering that you have these 2 priority homies. All right, and then Regieleki, this is going to be our offensive Aleki, so it's going to be Life Orb. It's going to be Violent. Now, that being said, I think Physical Regieleki makes a lot of sense here. Wild Charge, Bounce for Max Airstream, and then Assurance, and then Protect. Why Assurance? A few reasons. One, you get an extra stab boost, not stab boost, but you get an extra boost from Yveltal's Dark Aura, because, you know, Dark Move. And then from here, when you Dynamax, you can go for Max Darkness, drop Special Defenses, and then Kyogre and even Yveltal can start hitting even harder. So there's synergy on that. And then you have something to click into Calyrex Shadow Rider. And then what you can do is you don't have to waste your max this way, right? Because what you can do is Switcheroo if they lead Calyrex Shadow Rider in the first turn, what you can do is Switcheroo the Calyrex and then go for Assurance, and Life Orb Assurance just KOs it unless he wants to max it, right? And if he maxes it, sure. I mean, at the end of the day, fine. And then you just bring in your Kyogre in the back, click a Water Spout, and the game is over, right? So I think there's a lot of synergy here with the Whimsicott and Whimsicott with this kind of set. So Kyogre is definitely going to love it. So definitely give this one a go. The other team that we're going to make is going to be just a regular standard special attacking Regieleki with Electro Web stuff. And you can play that way too. I think both work. But on this variation, we're going to go with Physical Regieleki, right? So I think that's it. I think we got all the moves and the items, right? Yeah, we do. So now let's just go ahead and take a look at how we're going to do the EVs. Alright, so let's take a look at Marshadow here. Now, what I want to do first is I want to give you an idea of a set that you can use that I won't put on this team, but at least something to think about if you want to use Marshadow in the future. So, Focus Sash, we're going to go 252 no matter what. But what I want to also give you some consideration to use is a bulkier, slower, harder hitting Marshadow, right? And if you look at its bulk, like 90 HP is not bad at all. And then base 80 defense and base 90 special defense, also not terrible. It's got like slightly above mid-tier defenses, right? Now, that might not be so important when you got like all these mythicals and legends running around, but you'll be surprised. Marshadow can do some work here. So here's the physical build that I had in mind, right? So we'll start with the speed tier, and I think all you need is 149. Okay, now 149 is important because after a +1 Airstream, or even like an Electro Web, for example, if you use the special Lucky set, you outspeed the opposing Calyrex Shadow Rider, and then you can go for Spectral Thief or Shadow Sneak, and then not even Shadow Sneak, just Spectral Thief and just do more damage and then just kill it, right? So I think 149 just makes a lot of sense here, and then from here we just go Adamant Marshadow, and we just go to the third EV bump in the attacking nature, which is 187 right here. So you see over here where I have 185, if I go to the next bump, it goes to 187. Right, you skip 186, right? So this is what we call that third EV bump. And again, if you don't know what an EV bump is, you got to comment in the video below. I'll tell you what it means, or you go into our channel and watch our video that explains what are EV bumps. But basically, in a nutshell, in the natured stat, after every 80 EVs, you reach that bump where the stat increases by 2 points, right? So this is one of them. And then from here, you know, you just want to optimize for like weather damage, you know, from hailstorm or sandstorm stuff. So I think 191 just makes a lot of sense here, because 191 divided by 16, if you just do some quick math on your calculator, again, this is just all about our team building, you know, techniques and fundamentals where you're optimizing for weather stuff. You go to 11.9375, which rounds down to 11 damage per turn in terms of weather chip damage. And then from here, you just have a little bit more EVs to play with. You can just dump them into, you know, physical defense like this, or you can dump them into special defense like this, depending on what you want to calc for. But like, I just balanced it out like this, just to like have something to jump onto the ladder with. I didn't really calc for anything. But yeah, if you wanted like a bulky Marshadow set to start with, I would just do this. And instead of Focus Sash, right, I would just do Spell Tag, where now your ghost moves just hit even harder, right? Because 1.2 boost, then you have the 1.5 from Technician on your Shadow Sneak, and then your regular stab move of 1.5. So that's 3 multiplier boosts for Shadow Sneak. Do you know how hard this hits? Here, let's do some math real quick. So base 40, okay, base 40, where's the 4? Oh, there it is, times 1.2 from the Ghost Tag. So 48, then times 1.5 from your regular stab, and then from Technician, another 1.5. This is a base 108 Shadow Sneak that has priority. That's insane. That's honestly insane. So yeah, again, this is just something to consider if you want the spell tag. And then now you free up a Sash, and now you can put Sash on your Whimsicott, you know, and you can change up the way you want to play. Instead of going for, you know, Eject Button stuff, you can probably put like Helping Hand or something like that. But this is something to consider in the future. I'm just giving you some ideas on how to use a bulky Marshadow, but for our purposes in this video, this will just be a straight Jolly set. I like Jolly for a few reasons here. One, this speed number is important in terms of trying to outspeed Venusaur in the sun after a +1 Airstream, right? Because if you just do the math, 194 times 1.5 comes out to 291, which outspeeds Venusaur by 1 point in the sun, right? Because Venusaur hits 290 in the sun. So I think Jolly makes a lot of sense here. And then you just max out the attack and just 1 point in the HP, right? And then this is, again, Focus Sash. And over here, we keep the Endeavor stuff, right? So I think it makes a lot of sense in terms of what we're trying to do with Marshadow, right? Let's go to Yveltal here. So Yveltal, we just want to be like max speed. I've noticed some Yveltal give up a little bit of speed. I think that's totally fine because of what they're trying to do with it. But for that reason, I want to be the faster Yveltal and be able to snarl it first. Or, you know, just be able to go first before that Yveltal. So I think max speed timid just makes a lot of sense. And then from here, we want that odd number, not odd number, we want that even number in the special defenses. So this way we can optimize our Assault Vest multiplier boost of 1.5. Because here in the special defense, if you have an odd number, then it comes out to a decimal after the Assault Vest multiplier, and then it'll just round it down, which you don't want it to do, right? Because then you're not getting the best bang for your buck with your Assault Vest. So just go with the even number there. And then we don't really have like a key damage calc for, you know, a timid Yveltal, so you just put 1 point in special attack. And then from here you have 240 EVs to play with, right? So I just want to optimize again the weather damage, so 223 is what I want, and then the rest just goes into defense, something like this, you know, just being a little bit bulky on the physical side. But yeah, this is a pretty standard Assault Vest Yveltal build. You might even find this on Peakalytics on one of the builds, but yeah, this is one that I like in terms of a timid Yveltal. Alright, for Zacian, I've always been using the same Zacian spread, even since Series 12, even most of Series 11 as well. I just want enough speed where I can outspeed those Regieleki Speed Creepers after +1 Airstream, and then I always go to the second EV bump in the attack nature, which is 164 investment, right? You see how you go from 230, 220 out to 231, but then again, I want to optimize the Rusted Sword boost. I don't want a decimal again. I just want a perfect even number, so I go to 164. And then honestly, just 1 point in the bulk, and then the rest just goes into HP. And there's that 191 HP mark again, like we talked about before. Kyogre. So Kyogre, we just want to outspeed a Lekis after Tailwind. So this way we go for Water Spout, and we're faster than the fastest Pokemon in the format. You only need 139 for that. But then other Ogres are going to be doing that too. And because we're so close to being max speed, we might as well just go max speed Modesty Kyogre here. And then I just go to the 30 EV bump in the Modest Nature, which is 236 investment. See how you go from 218 to 220 in terms of the attack. You skipped 219, so you got a +2 boost there. And then you just have a little bit of bulk in the defense and just 1 point in special defense. And this tiny bit of bulk makes a little bit of a difference in trying to survive the Zacian Adamant Play Rough. So I think it just gives you a little bit more of a favorable roll. So that's why I do it like this. All right, Whimsicott. This is an Eject Button Whimsicott, but like the thing is with this version of Whimsicott, I just want it to be bulky, right? Because I don't have a Focus Sash. All right, I still want it to be fast, but I just want it to be bulky, right? So I just want 1 point here, 1 point here, and 1 point here, and that's totally fine by me. And then the rest just goes into HP like this. Oh, I messed it up. All right, and there's that 166 number, right? So this is all we really need from a bulky Eject Button Whimsicott, right? And this can survive as Incineroar Flare Blitz, and that the Kyogre range just helps it out a little bit more, right? So there's that. Regieleki, so max speed, Jolly, of course. A little bit of Life Orb optimization to 159, 1 point in the bulk, and then the rest just goes into my attacking stat like this. And Assurance is more than enough to kill the Calyrex. I can show you the damage calc, but again, I don't want to just do one damage calc, but you can feel free to put it in. As long as you remove the Focus Sash, this amount of investment will be enough to OHKO a Shadow Rider, right? So there's that. And I think that's it. I think we got all we have for this team. So let's just go ahead and make the Pokepaste here. And again, you can kind of see what we're trying to do here, right? We want the speed control early with Whimsicott. We go for Tailwind. We can put pressure with a Lekki, Kyogre in the beginning, and then clean things up in the back with Zacian or Yveltal, right? And we don't even have to like Dynamax the Lekki, right? We can even Dynamax the Yveltal for that matter, right? And it all depends. I think Marshadow can come into games where there's a lot of boosts, like games like with Magearna, or games where like there's coaching plays involved. And even like a Zacian stuff, right? Like you can steal the boost from Zacian and then just like hit it really hard. But there is some use with Marshadow. Endeavor is a really nice tech. I think it makes a lot of sense here. And it has some synergy with the Whimsicott, right? With the Switcheroo stuff. So yeah, let's do one test battle with it, and then we'll show you the second variation of the team that we have, which is something more standard, and then I'll show you one game that we had using that. So let's take a look. Okay, so again, we're still on the legacy server. Last I checked, I mean, I was away for 8 days, but I checked Showdown, and they still didn't open up the Series 13 ladder. So, and if they did, feel free to tell me, but I looked and I couldn't find it unless I was buying. So I went on the legacy server, and here we are. And this is actually the perfect game for Marshadow, right, in terms of what it can do. So I see that there's Thundurus, and I see that there's Zamazenta. All right, so that tells me there's going to be coaching plays involved, and I would love to steal a coaching boost with Spectral Thief, right? And then I also see Magearna, right? So I can see some opportunities where Pokemon are getting KO'd, and then maybe I can steal a Magearna boost, right? And then from here, I see that there's Kyurem, I see that there's Volcanion. You know, in terms of his restrictors, they aren't really that strong. I know Kyurem's strong, but we have a Zacian, right? So I don't have too much to worry about there. And I know there's a Volcanion, but like Yveltal kind of just like walls that thing. I think the one thing to be worried about is the Trick Room on the Magearna, right? So that's something that I'm thinking about. But having said that, here we go. I'm going to just lead right off the bat with the Marshadow here, just in case he goes with the Zamazenta stuff. And so now I see that there's a Kyurem and there's a Whimsicott. So he might even just Dynamax this thing and go ham. So what I want to try and do is Switcheroo and Shadow Sneak this. And hopefully I can pull it off. But my opponent is, he has a brain cell. So he clicks the protect button, and now he sees that I was going for the Switcheroo stuff. So it blocks it, and he just went for his own Tailwind. So now this is not terrible, because now I can stagger my own Tailwind, and I can have one extra turn of Tailwind while his Tailwind will expire, assuming I can get rid of the Whimsicott later on. So I don't think he'll fall for the Switcheroo stuff again, so I'm going to have to do something a little bit more creative, and I'm going to, you know, I brought Zacian in the back, so you know what that means. I'm just going to go ahead and start getting those defense drops, assuming I can pick up some of these KOs. So here we go. He actually still maxed the Kyurem anyway, so that disappoints me. All right, he goes for the taunt, so that makes a lot of sense. That's why he did it. And there's the Hailstorm. So we would have died if we didn't max the Marshadow, but now we get those defense drops, and Whimsicott takes some chip damage, right? So he had taunt Whimsicott, makes a lot of sense. So I couldn't do the Switcheroo stuff, but now, you know, we have stuff to come in from the back and, you know, just punish him here. And this Whimsicott is going to die anyway from the hail, so I just want to chip the Kyurem a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I have access to Max Strike now, right? So I can start getting the speed control back and switch out the Whimsicott and just go for Max Strike. All right, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. He goes into Zamazenta. I knew he would. He wants to save the Whimsicott for later, and I'm going to go into Zacian here. And there's the Hailstorm, so we call that right, and here's the Max Strike. So good chip damage onto the Kyurem, and you see that defense drop really helps Marshadow there. That's decent chip damage on a Kyurem, to be honest. And now we also slowed the Zamazenta, so he's basically only +1 now. And I see that there's another turn of Tailwind left. All right. So having said that, I'm just going to protect Zacian this turn, and he really wants the Zacian dead because he double targeted it. But now the Whimsicott is not in anymore, and here's another Phantasm defense drop. So now we're in a really good spot. Not that Zacian needed the defense drop to kill Kyurem, but chipping away and removing the Dauntless Shield bonus from Zamazenta was really nice, because now we can just KO it with Sacred Sword and then maybe even put more pressure with the Marshadow onto the Kyurem slot, right? But I called this wrong because I thought he would switch out the Zamazenta, but he did not, and you'll see it right here. So I just go for the safe play of Close Combat into Kyurem. Now I could have Spectral Thiefed it, but I was looking at the damage calc and it was a little bit of a roll. So I didn't want to take the chance, and I just wanted to just secure the kill, just go for Close Combat, and that's all that needs to be done there. And there's the Behemoth Blade, so I called it wrong, so that's why he lives there. And my Zacian takes a bit of a chunk, but Zamazenta is not that strong, so I'm able to survive. So he goes Whimsicott here. Now the thing is, Whimsicott, you know, could die after this, but you know, I just want to get rid of it, and instead I just decide to target it anyway. So I'll protect the Zacian one more turn. There's the Shadow Sneak. And Zamazenta does knock me out, but again, that's still totally fine. I still managed to get rid of the Whimsicott. You know, now I can just go for Tailwind. I have the speed control on my end, And Volcanion, he does have Heat Wave, so that's kind of cool, but that's fine because now that I have Tailwind, my Yveltal has the speed control, and this is where Assault Vest Yveltal comes in handy because now we just snarl the Volcanion down, and he can't really do much. He's hoping for burns, but that's not going to do anything here. I'm surprised he brought the Volcanion in this case, right? Because you saw how he double targeted my Zacian, so that told me that he didn't have Volcanion. Because otherwise, why are you double targeting it when you can just wipe it out with the Volcanion? I thought it was something else in the back, like the Magearna, and I thought I was in trouble, but there was no Magearna, and it was just Volcanion in the end. So yeah, Marshadow did a lot here. And then Zacian, also did what it needed to do. No Kyogre needed this time around, because there was a Volcanion and a Kyurem. And there was a Thundurus too. So I felt like, you know what, let's leave the Kyogre on the bench, and we were able to pick up that win. So there's an example there with the Marshadow having some use on a team like this. But now let's look at the second variation of the team, and then we'll show one sample battle with that one. Okay, so this is our second variation. Again, same 6, but some of the mons are going to have some different sets. So Marshadow, Zacian, and Yveltal, they're going to stay the same, but our Eleki is going to be a little bit different here. This is going to be our special Eleki set with Electro Web, so another option for speed control, and then Hyper Beam. Max Strike is really good again, and then Thunderbolt just for like consistent damage. If you want to put Thunder on this, you can, and then you can just go Protect on this slot. Now, what you can do here is you can go like a slower Eleki, a bulkier one, but I chose just to keep a faster Eleki and then just make it a timid set, and then just pretty much just switch the Jolly Nature to timid and just put the 220 investment in special attack. And this is our special Eleki set. But having said that, you do have the option if you want to have a bulkier, slower, harder hitting, modest Eleki. And if you want that build, just comment in the video and then I'll tell you what that build looks like. But Whimsicott, again, well, instead of Switcheroo, we'll have Mental Herb here. And then over here, we can just have like Helping Hand or even Trick Room. But I like Helping Hand. I think it's really, really nice. But yeah, again, depending on how you want to play the team, I think it just... it all depends on you, the viewer, right? So that's why I'm like giving you options here in terms of how you want to do this. But here, we'll make this paste anyway. But if you want to keep, like, if you want to just make a Eleki special and then like stay with the, Eject Button, Switcheroo, Whimsicott, because you still have the same sets on Marshadow and Yveltal, then by all means do that. I just, was just testing different things. And they work either way. It just depends on you, how you want to play Marshadow on this kind of team. I think it just makes sense either way. But yeah, let me show you a game where we actually use this version of the team, and then we get you guys out of here. So let's take a look at that battle. Okay, so like again, this is a very standard team that he's got. He also has Zacian, Yveltal, Kyogre, and Whimsicott. So that's again a very solid 4. Now the differences are in the other 2 slots, and he's got Mamoswine here, and Mamoswine makes sense on his kind of team just because Eleki just wrecks his team, right? It wrecks Yveltal, it wrecks Kyogre. You get speed control on the Calyrex, so he's almost like forced to even lead the Mamoswine here. So I want to test that. I want to see if he actually brings it. But no Marshadow this game. I think our other homies have what they need to do in terms of the tools that they need. So I'm just going to go Eleki Zacian here just to see what he's got. And he actually goes with the Mamoswine here. So couple things he can do. He can switch out the Whimsicott to Yveltal, click Earthquake on Mamoswine. This might even have the Sash on it. Although I don't think it does. I think it's on the Calyrex. He can even just Dynamax the Mamoswine, click Max Quake into something. And I'm going to call that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say he ignores the Eleki and goes straight for the Zacian. So I'm going to switch the Zacian for Yveltal. And then I'm going to switch the Eleki also for another Mon. And we'll see if I'm able to call this right. So I go into Whimsicott here. I want to Tailwind next turn. Here's the Yveltal. And here is the Mamoswine Max. And I know he's going to ignore the Eleki, right? And there it is, right? So we base the turn of his Max by going for that switch. And this is the reason why you need a flying type Pokemon on your team. It's for this exact reason, right? So we're able to waste a turn of Max, but we're not out of it yet because I still have 2 things that's weak to Mamoswine on the field. But what I can do is max the Yveltal and go for Tailwind myself. So this way I get an extra turn of Tailwind next turn. He does get the drop, so that's unfortunate for me. But I know this Whimsicott has no Sash. So I'm still able to wipe it out, and there's the Hailstorm, and I can tank the Hailstorm relatively well, so that's also cool for me. there is the Kyogre there. So what I need to do is just like honestly just chip this Kyogre with Moonblast. I do get the drop, that helps a lot. And Max Darkness for special defense drops is really, really nice as well, especially next turn if I'm able to take or have a next turn. He gets rid of the Whimsicott rather than Yveltal, so that's okay for me. So he's got 1 turn of Tailwind left, and I'm going to have 2 more turns of Tailwind, so I'm just going to put the pressure here. I'm going to protect the Zacian this turn, actually, right? And I just go for Airstream. I wipe out the Mamoswine. Honestly, I probably could have taken out the Ogre here, but I thought it was Scarf. I'm trying to remember why I protected instead of killing the Ogre there with Sacred Sword. But, you know, I don't remember, honestly, off the top of my head. But we're still able to deal decent damage into the Ogre here. And I did take this turn to sub. I thought he would protect, but he did not. So the sub Zacian actually comes in relatively clutch here because I'm able to stall his 1 more turn here. And now I can just Sucker Punch the Kyogre here and just kill the Zacian right here. And it's honestly really, really good here that I'm able to keep the Zacian because of that 1 turn of sub. And now I have the Alecki in the back. And I was fine either way, right? Because Zacian and Kyogre, they were just going to drop to Life Orb Alecki. So all I needed to do was just stall 1 more turn, and then I think I was okay. So nice use of sub there from Zacian. I think the prior turn I could have just clicked Sacred Sword, and then I would have just removed the Kyogre from play, and he wouldn't really have anything left. But yeah, you see how the team can function without Marshadow, right? You have the pressure from Tailwind with your own Whimsicott, and then Yveltal, Alecki, and Zacian, they just do the job on their own, right? So yeah, definitely give this one a go. Let's just go ahead and put the pace for this. And then, yeah, you tell me which one you guys like. But here it is, right? So yeah, we got this one with the relatively standard set with Electro Web. And the Whimsicott is just Mental Herb. And then on this side, we have the, you know, the Switcheroo stuff with the Eject Button. And then the Alecki is a physical Alecki with Assurance, aka Max Darkness, and an Airstream button, right? What you can also even consider is, you know, just forgoing to protect on the Alecki and going for Electro Web anyway, because there were some games where like I really did wish I had Electro Web, but then on the flip side, there were also some games on this team where like I really wish I had Max Darkness. But yeah, let me know what you think of both versions of the team, and let me know which one you're going to try. But yeah, this is what I've got. So yeah, let me know what you think, and we'll be back to again continue wrapping up our Series 12 content, and still, you know, slowly keep putting out our Series 13 content. And again, if you want coaching with me for stuff like this, where we build the team from scratch and I show you how to do my EVs, again, that's a tier 3 sub to the channel below. Or if you've got a team yourself and you just want me to look at it and fix it up a little bit, that's a tier 2 team fixing sub to the channel. Again, that's also in the video description below. Right, so we'll be back with another video in the next one, guys. Peace out and have a good night.